Everybody loves their new technology, right? How many of you know or have kept those glasses that had the cameras in them? Many a fist fight would break out because, frankly, they were an invasion of privacy. Your recorders for the VHS, let alone Betamax. How many of you even use CDs? Not even the latest cars anymore. And the same thing applies to teaching. Everybody's fallen in love with Zoom meetings and PowerPoints and multiple choice exams that can be literally administered and tallied within minutes. And the latest technology innovation in teaching was, of course, the Zoom meeting, as well, of course, in business. Allows the ability for people to be, quotation marks, in attendance, in quotation marks, and required, of course, because of COVID. Let's see. Here's our class now. And do you notice something? I'll let you see if you can notice what I'm going to comment on. Here, let me give you a couple of hints. First of all, the speaker, whether it's the professor, teacher, or somebody else, has a little yellow box around them. And you're probably not even looking there. Unlike an in-class situation, you're looking at each other, the fellow students, which may or may not be the case in a classical classroom, but notice already your mind is being diverted away from the learning at hand. And what's even worse, I'll spare you the graphic, you can open a little chat box on the right-hand side, and if you've ever looked at the chat boxes on any meeting, about half of them have nothing to do with what's going on. It's like passing notes or talking out of hand in class. And I don't mind that per se in class, but notice there's an inherent versus digressionary nature between the two. One's encouraged, the other's discouraged. See what I mean? But of course, wait, there's more. Let's do this a little more formally. In the modern classroom, which is so eager to take advantage of technology as we all do, and I know some of us are first to adopt and also sometimes the last to drop, and other of us eschew it for a lot of pretty good reasons. You have, let's see, you have the Zoom meetings. We've noted the students tend to face the other way. Yes, I know you can turn it off. Listen to them howl then. And they have the chat room. Yes, you can turn it off, but listen to them howl then. Another predilection is toward multiple choice tests. Now, an old trick that many a foreign student has learned is just choose the longest answer because they're so poorly designed. And I say that by people who should know better. I've had Title IX. I've had experts in psychology, sociology, and training sessions on diversity, and they'll have a little checklist of the mandatory multiple answers, and invariably the longest one is the correct one, meaning you don't have to read them. Cheating, by the way, is a lot easier when you're, of course, doing it at home in your underpants. Contrast that to the old school exams where you show your work. Boy, it takes a lot longer time to grade them. And of course, because you're in class, it's not impossible, but there's likely to be less cheating. And you can have multiple choice exams in an in-class setting. And many times you can just glance over cheats, very hard to catch. You don't even have to read the answer. You just look at the location on the piece of paper. I designed an exam, a couple of classes, where every question was randomized, the answers were randomized, the numbers for the problems were randomized, and so, boy, that was easy to catch cheaters there, but I digress. Well, what else is problematic in the modern teaching methods? PowerPoints. PowerPoints from hell. And the problem with them is, bless their hearts, they don't know better. They read them word for word as though you're in a second grade reading class. And further, it promotes linear discussions, if any. That's not very good teaching. And what this leads to, understandably and regretfully, is the assessment toward performance measured with multiple choice exams, whether or not it was on the achievement goals listed, whether you did it's like whether or not they used all the crayons in the crayon box and stayed within the lines. Anybody who's had a great teacher knows they don't do that. And in fact, the great teaching methods have three aspects. And the great studies in terms of effective teaching are high standards, individualized attention, and enthusiasm, as opposed to whether or not the learning objectives were much like a crayon box where you used all the colors and you stayed within the lines. Look here, I'm in an advanced class, you can probably tell. You know, what's lost in all of this is also that when you do things manually on the board, handwritten, it allows students to, in real time, transcribe them, and meaning that the handwriting as a mnemonic device, a kinesthetic memory, if you will, gives it a permanent storage as opposed to merely handing out pre-printed PowerPoint notes. And I did get my comments that were many positive, but the administration, of course, focused on the negative. Oh, he went into digressions about word etymologies and histories and counter theories, as opposed to giving them the list of the dozen things they had to memorize. Something to think about, eh?